Premed Office Hours, episode 174. I can't believe it. Closing in on 200 episodes of Premed Office Hours. What started as Ask the Dean and then moved to, I don't even remember what the next one
Ask
was.
Matt.
Ask Maps, and now is Premed Office Hours. We are here every Wednesday, almost every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to answer your Premed questions over at premed.tv. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your moderator for the day. I'm the creator of... we need to change these subtitles. I didn't create the Premed podcast. I host the Premed podcast. I am the creator of Medical School Headquarters, host of the Premed Years podcast, the MCAT podcast, the Old Premeds podcast, all kinds of fun podcasts. If you haven't subscribed, go do that. Author of the Premed Playbook, series of books. Yeah, all that good stuff. But my best title is a colleague to these amazing people. Verinia Granum, former assistant dean of pre-health and STEM advising at Hofstra University.
Hello. Doing great. Thank you. I don't have the illustrious titles, but, you know, I'm happy to be in your presence and call myself a colleague too. Thank you.
Yes. Illustrious titles. Yeah, we don't need those fun things. I don't have any fancy titles other than creator of a podcast, whatever. Also joining us, Courtney Lewis, who does have an illustrious title, former director of admissions at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm good. I don't have, the 5 or 6 things afterwards, but, we're hanging in there with our collective. We've got about every title covered, I think.
Yes.
With Dr. Reverend Dr. Scott Wright.
Oh, yeah.
he's helping out too. So
yeah, we got it all. So if you are new to what we do here, we are the Medical School HQ Advising Team. We have a small team of advisors who work one-on-one with students as well as do group advising through the application process in our program called Application Academy. So if you or a loved one is going through this process and you would like some help, you would like some eyes from experts, go check out medicalschoolhq.net. Some eyes from experts. Here, have my eyeball. Halloween's over. We can't do gross jokes anymore. Go to premed.tv, ask your questions. We'll answer them here. I think we have some coming in already. Let's rock and roll. So, Triumphant Cat, hello there. All things being equal, CV step 2, clinical grades at 2 similarly, quote, ranked schools. I like ranked is in quotation marks because what does ranked mean? Would I be worse off in residency placement getting less than an A average at a graded school versus a pass-fail school? Wow. Courtney, you're the one that has some of the med school experience, kind of watching students go through this process. Was your school pass-fail? Was it graded?
We did both, actually. So when I first started, we were on a graded ranked system, and then we switched over to pass-fail like a lot of other schools, over the past couple of years. Most have been shifting.
Okay. And then in terms of pass-fail versus not pass-fail, do you feel like that impacted residency at all?
No. With how many schools are shifting over to the pass-fail system, very common. There shouldn't be any bias. It should be equitable. There are potentially some residencies that still like to see your ranking, which even if you're at a pass-fail school, they can still do internal rankings so that, when you're getting your dean's letter, you could say I was in the top 10 or 15%. It's just not widely advertised as you're going throughout it. So there's nuances to each part of it, and I didn't see any evidence of that.
Yeah, I think ultimately for me, this question or the answer to this question comes down to you're going to have no way of knowing what's going to happen and who's looking at it and what their bias is towards something. And ultimately, it's going to come down to at the end of the day, what at least I always say is go to the school where you're going to thrive the most at. And if it happens to be a graded school, it's going to be a graded school, but if you're going to thrive there, you're likely, hopefully, going to have better applications to residency because of that.
Yeah, it's going to be more, I guess, kind of like preparing to go to medical school, where academics should kind of be a little bit of a given, where, you know, you've got solid grades kind of throughout, whether it's pass, fail or not. And what else is there to you? What do you provide to that residency program? Are you a team player? Because a lot of the times the residents are the ones that are evaluating the candidates on the whole and working alongside them. And so it'll probably always be about your hustle and what package you put together. So,
yep, it's all about you at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Good question, Triumphant Cat. Yugen Space. I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail a class this semester. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean my chances of getting into med school are gone? I'm currently a second-year student. Verinia, is our friend here the first person ever to fail a class?
Absolutely. Just give up now.
Give up. Give up. Oh, you're so mean, Verinia. I'm rubbing off on you.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm spicy today.
Why so spicy?
No. I mean, it depends on a couple of things, right? Is this your first fail class? Or is there a pattern here? What is going on? What else is going on? As a second-year student, though, even if you have started off a little rough, there is still time to recover, right? So now is the time when you have to decide, okay, what is going on with this class? It's not going to end well. Is it too late now to drop this class? If it is, do the best you can with it. And if it turns out that you don't pass, reflect on that. What went wrong? What did I do? What could I have done better? Talk to the professor, maybe go to their office hours. But are your chances of getting into medical school completely zero at this point? No, I don't think so. It's going to depend on whether or not you're able to come back from this, right? Reflect on what went wrong, like I said, and try to build your trend upward again. And if it is if it's not your only failed course at this point, if there's a pattern here, then you really have to take a step back and figure out what's going on. But you have time. You have time to figure it out.
Yeah. Courtney, you often talk about kind of the pattern and
Mm-hmm.
1 flag, 2 flags, 3 flags more, right? In terms of looking at an application. We'll turn this into a Dr. Seuss rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
Is one class going to make or break an application?
No. I mean, if it's one of the required classes, you will have to retake it, right, to get a C or above. But if this is an isolated incident, by no means. I mean, it'll kind of throw off, especially if you're in your second year, it's going to kind of throw off your GPA a little bit. So know that there's some work ahead. But at the end of the day, when you're applying to medical school, they're going to be looking at the student you are in applying and what will actually roll into their school. So being that it's your second year, you have a bit of a buffer of time to really have that upward trend. What went wrong, like Verinia said, correct that so it doesn't happen again and you don't put yourself in that kind of yo-yo pattern. But yeah, this happens a lot.
Yep. Don't give up. Dawa, good morning. Does a gerontology course count towards my science GPA? Easy answer, go to or Google AMCAS or COMIS or TMDSAS, depending on which application service you're applying to. Application service, course classification. AMCAS course classification guide, Google that, go look and see. Each application services have some nuances to it in terms of what they're qualifying science GPA as. So go do some homework. Viley, I came to express my gratitude for your invaluable advice and inspiring stories. I learned English at 16 years old as an immigrant, and now at 30 years old, receiving multiple interviews and acceptances to Texas MDs. Woohoo! Congrats, Viley. That is awesome. That is awesome. Congrats.
Love it. Love that.
Megana. I always forget how to pronounce her name. Sorry. Can a student who is in their senior year now and hopefully yet to write to the MCAT, applying to med school in 2024, can they also apply to a master's program simultaneously? Courtney, I talk about no plan B often, and people don't like when I say that. But at the core of no plan B is really putting all of your effort into your ultimate goal. And obviously understanding that sometimes you're going to have to give up at some point or deviate.
Sure.
To me, applying to medical school and a master's program, especially if that master's program is for grade repair, you're basically saying, hey, med schools, I want to come to you, but I know I'm not good enough. What do you think about this dual application process?
It's risky, I would say, especially if it's at a feeder school where they can kind of see what applicants kind of carry over. But I think I align with you. It comes down to what's the point of the master's program? Why would you be applying to both? Do you need the content that's in that master's program? If it's a grade replacement, maybe that's a little bit different. But if it's foundation building, that's going to be important. Also, how long is this master's program and when do you enroll in it? Because if it gets started in the spring and you get accepted, medical schools will not want to pull you out before it's completed. So there's a number of things that you kind of put at risk when you're doing both simultaneously, including money. So
yeah,
I think having some good, honest conversations with yourself on what's maybe the point of doing both simultaneously and narrowing it down to the one that needs to go forward.
Yeah. I think one of the questions behind the question is, can medical schools see that you're applying to master's programs, especially if it's the same kind of medical, or if it's the same school, right? If the medical school offers a master's program. And my general response is like, no, they're not going to be able to see that you're applying to these other programs. You have any insight on that, Courtney?
Some do.
Yeah. Okay.
Some have all of their admissions housed kind of under the same thing. It would just be somebody would be designated to go through the master's program candidates, but it's all housed under the same thing. So potentially, but it's going to be outside of your control. Again, like a lot of things, you won't know their process or how they're set up. So, but it's less about them seeing it as opposed to you just getting ahead of it and identifying it. But yeah, potentially they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some more follow-up there. Oh.
Yeah.
What did it say?
In case the MCAT isn't great.
Yeah. So again, if you're applying to medical school, that's a lot of time and money and effort, and you're not even bought into it. Like, I would wait. And a master's program isn't going to fix your MCAT. So why are you doing the master's if your MCAT's not great? So there's lots of stuff there to unravel.
You can unpack a lot.
As an undergrad freshman, what activities should be the priority to get involved in or start? Ooh. Brittany, I love this question because
I do too.
Lots of first-year students out there jumping into the deep end without learning how to swim first. What's our recommendation for Yosef here?
Yeah, Yosef, you have to learn how to swim, right? Start on the shallow end and build up your academic foundation first of all. Make sure that you're getting your study habits and getting disciplined in terms of getting that set up. And then you can kind of wade your way over to some shadowing, some on-campus experiences where you can really grow and things that you're passionate about, where you can grow and enjoy, being around like-minded students who are doing other important things in the community. Those are the activities that I recommend to start with, because that's where you really start to explore and see what's out there, what you're passionate about. And then, if possible, try to get in some shadowing, some volunteer experiences, maybe in a clinic or a hospital, kind of entry-level stuff, right? You don't want to take on so much that you're getting pulled away from your academics, and that's the priority right now, particularly in your first and second years when you're learning, kind of setting that foundation for the harder courses. So take it easy. Take it one step at a time. Get some experiences on campus, some volunteering, and maybe some shadowing if you can get it. Good luck.
Good luck. Right. Rania, best way to follow up with deans or schools after conferences. So we just had MappedCon a month ago now. It's crazy. It's been a month post MappedCon. And there were lots of students there asking questions to the schools that were there, to the admissions, the recruiters, all of those fun people. Courtney, post-conference, what do you think is the best way to follow up? And I'm hoping in an authentic way.
Yeah, this is a tough question because I think it may be a little bit different per school because communication will be filtered a little bit differently. Email is always a fine option. I would say I would like that person to kind of probably like show up for any of the recruiting like virtual events I'm having or open houses or have repeated touches, so I know that they're continuing to stay engaged with us and I'm getting repeated interactions with that person. I think that that would actually be the best way to do it, just because I start to become more familiar with the name and the face and knowing that that person's interested. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I think so. Brittany, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would echo what Courtney said. I think being active and kind of going to those events and networking with students and other admissions folks is the best way to build those relationships, get their business card in person as much as possible, but virtual too. Right? They just to get more information about the school and stay up to date with anything going on there is always a great way to keep that relationship going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Osama, is it harder for international students to get into med school because there are less schools that accept international students, or because schools look for higher standards from internationals? Yes.
Both.
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 Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the answer. Spam Sam, when should we start building connections with teachers for recommendations? I'm a first quarter freshman, and I'm worried that I haven't set up any meaningful relationships with professors so far. Oh my Lord, we're only like 2 months in.
Yeah.
Spam. Courtney, let's give Spam some anxiety medicine here with their process.
So I love that you are at least cognizant that this is something that you should be doing. I would say, you know, as you are looking at your next quarters and going forward for this core science foundational material, see if the same professor that works well for you, where you can digest the material in a way that they're presenting it, is somebody that teaches subsequent courses. Even if it's not maybe the most convenient time that fits in your schedule, maybe it would be fruitful to continue to take courses with that person. So if you get somebody now, that's great if you feel like you can ask them for a letter, but just know you would need to maintain that relationship up until the point of when you're applying. So that would, you know, consist of pretty frequent communication and hopefully no turnover with that faculty member, which most are tenured, so that shouldn't be a big problem. But it's more about kind of projecting forward and being strategic about who you schedule future classes with. Can you get any repeats? And finding a good fit for that professor. So you don't need to have one right now. If you do, great. If not, just continue to look for those patterns in the future.
Yep. Take a breath. You're doing great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ethan, hello, student athlete here. Looks like a soccer kit he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Writing my activity descriptions for soccer. Oh yeah, soccer. Keep reading, Ryan. Whatever. I have 2 thoughts. Show impact quantitatively, games 1 or stats, or 2, tell one of many stories. Hardship, a crazy game. Thoughts. Vernie, I love this question because I have a button on my soundboard here specifically for activity descriptions. There are no rules. So when it comes to activity descriptions, what should Ethan do here?
There are no rules, Ethan. So basically, they leave it up to you to decide how you want to present the activity and describe it. I'm a big fan, though, of showing why. Why did you do this? Why was this important for you? Did you have any impact on others? How did it impact you? So for me, stats are not as important. I'm also not a soccer fan, sorry. So maybe that's why. But I think the way you show impact is really talk about why did you pursue this sport? Why was it meaningful to you? How did you impact others through the game on your team? How did the team impact you? And then sure, if you want to kind of share how that relationship led to successful seasons and blah blah blah, you can talk about that, of course, but focus on why this was important to you and how it impacted you or others on the team.
Yeah, good.
I'm getting hate looks from other folks about not liking soccer.
How dare you?
Football.
Fulani.
Okay, let's start there. It's football.
Okay, sorry, it's football. Hey, it's
That was the kids' fault. Yeah.
Football. Is it possible to take classes full time as a pre-med student and work as an EMT twice a week? Of course.
Yeah.
Can
Just
you
be
do
careful.
Yeah.
Yep. Just
Certainly,
be
it's
careful.
possible. Lots of
Yeah.
people do it.
Yeah.
Bougie, how can I support as a parent living 3,000 miles away from my pre-med freshman kid? Oh, great question.
It is. I love this.
All right, so we have a parent here. Courtney, we are very active as a team in a parent support group on Facebook. And this comes up all the time. Like, how do I support my kid? I don't know what they're going through. I don't know the stress. I don't know the process. What can I do for them?
Yes. So love this question. I really appreciate it. So remember, they are freshmen. There is a lot of strategy and maybe helping them kind of set things up in a way that will make sure that they can achieve this goal and do it in a way where they're not completely overloaded. But my main thing is you need to allow them this opportunity to really grow as adults, because what would happen is parents would intervene at kind of these stressful moments or these opportunity for growth, and then the kids would come to us when they're applying to medical school not really having to have ever been independent or struggle or overcome a challenge or a barrier, and so they're a little bit stunted in that, and we don't know how resilient they are. And so allowing them some breathing room and acknowledging that they need these key times to really grow as a person, and we want to see evidence of that, will be hyper important. So help on the periphery, but don't do it for them, or else it'll not be helpful in the end. That would be kind of my biggest thing that I saw the most often is parents would kind of come in and take over, and kids came to us just a little bit underprepared as an independent adult and needed more time.
Yeah. Don't call the schools for the student.
Oh my goodness, please do not. Don't hound the schools. You can't do it for them.
Yeah. Verinia, you were formerly on the undergrad side. Any stories of kind of the tiger parent, a helicopter parent coming in and kind of taking over?
Yes, it's plenty. It's hard as a parent. I get it, but you do have to let them spread their wings a little bit. I've had parents, calling me for their senior student who wasn't going to graduate, and they wanted to know more about why they weren't graduating. As a senior now, you're kind of expected to know what you need to do to graduate. But I think the best thing you can do as a parent is at least have an awareness of what being a pre-med is like. Know that they're taking challenging courses. Time management is always difficult. So just having an awareness of what that process is like. So you can kind of have an idea of what they're going through, and then checking in with them, sending, care packages whenever possible is always appreciated. We have a Facebook parent group. If you're not familiar with it, you can certainly join that. I forget what the name of the group is, but it's like pre-med support.
Yeah, it's pre-med parent support group.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend joining that, so you can kind of just be aware of the questions that they are that are being asked about the process. That's going to really help your student.
Try to stay positive with them. They take on a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure and a lot of comparison between them and their peers. And so the best thing you can do is just keep a positive attitude. Don't hound them. Help build structured support systems, but then let them do that and then keep them positive. This is a really challenging path, and it takes years of foundation building to even be ready to apply. So they're taking on a lot, and we respect that, but yeah.
A direct link to that parent group, of course, I have the URL, premedparent.com, so you can go check that out. That'll take you right to the Facebook group.
Good to know.
King of URLs.
Kelly Woods asks, what if you have taken courses and dropped them and taken gap time? Will this affect your chances of medical schools like Baylor? Courtney, this kind of goes to the earlier question of like, if I fail a class, what's going to happen, right? Students drop courses all the time. It's one variable. What are your thoughts?
Kind of the most common answer is depends, right? I would need to see the rest of the academics, but if this was the best option for you, given your course load or what was going on in life and things like that, I'm glad you did it. It was probably an effective way to kind of handle what you were doing. Now, if this is a consistent theme where you get to a full course load and then you start to drop and then you have long periods of gaps, then maybe that's problematic. But just this information on its own, it doesn't seem that threatening. Just think of it, med schools are risk adverse, right? So we are looking for patterns, we're looking for data and information that will kind of let us know who we're getting as a student at that time, like we said. And so what does this profile look like, and what risk may be introduced into their mind by looking at that? If you need to fix that or address it, then do that. But a drop here and there is probably not a problem. It's just in the context of maybe other things that I can start seeing. Like if you were not a science major, you only had one science course, and when you would go up to 2 science courses, then you would start to drop and have gaps of when you took them, or you were taking them at science or community college and stuff like that. Then I'm starting to pick up on a pattern, right? So depends.
Depends, yeah. And then the specific part for Baylor, again, it's going to depend.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
On that, but
yeah.
Yeah, just a quick reminder, if you're looking for some advice on getting into med school, help on your essays, help on interview prep, what we spend most of our time doing, Courtney and Verena, is advising students one-on-one, helping them with essays and interview prep and all that fun stuff. Courtney, what is the best kind of message that's come in so far this application cycle from a student you've worked with?
The best message? Well, that they get
like
it.
Success-wise. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's somebody that I've worked with for 50 hours, and this is her 3rd cycle, and she's gotten multiple acceptances, and I mean, she just didn't necessarily know how to go about it. She was honest with herself on some of the things that she struggled with. She knew that the interview was going to be very difficult for her. And not because she wasn't a lovely person. It was just she got so nervous and she didn't know how to answer questions and the strategy to them. And she was very direct and very linear with how she wrote her essays, which really wasn't giving me much information as an evaluator on her or what she took away from having had the experience. So there was a lot that we needed to kind of tweak. Nothing about her story changed, but the way that she was presenting that information and herself did change through time and meeting and stuff. So I was really, really happy for her. But yeah, I mean, I know Vernie and we have our own kind of internal, like social proof, feel good kind of chain of comments and stuff that we receive in emails from students where we've helped them get in just to kind of boost the spirits. And I love seeing those pour in every day, because I feel like with our service and how we work, I mean, we really get into the weeds of really helping them shape a polished package and helping them figure out how to do this, instead of just saying like, I don't like this personal statement, rewrite it, right? Like, what is it about it? How can we best present it? You know, can I be a sounding board from some of these experiences that will help you kind of figure this out and stuff? And so, I don't know. I mean, I like doing that. I like getting all of the data, all of the information, having these conversations, and then seeing what we can put together so that they feel confident, because they've done all of the preparation. They just don't know how to package it. So, I don't know. I mean, now I feel we're really blessed. We have those, you know, things coming in every day with happy messages about how people have been successful. Why we do what we do.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Michael, I'm not sure if I have the time to shadow a provider who works in my building. If I have lunch with them to do an interview, should I write that anywhere on my application under shadowing?
Nope.
So, Vernie, this kind of like job interview, or there's a specific name for it. I forget what it is. It's would you consider this shadowing?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right? Because what's the goal of shadowing? The goal of shadowing is to observe the day-to-day life of a physician, of what it's like to be in the office, to work with patients, and work with insurance companies. You having lunch with them is not going to show you that. You can have an informational kind of conversation about what their day-to-day like, but it's not shadowing them. So I kind of bristle at this, because it sounds to me like, oh, I have to have shadowing. Let me, check off. I had lunch with this physician. I'm done. No. So think of it as, this is your opportunity. I'm not sure if I have time, like, find the time. The whole goal of this is so that you can understand why you're doing this. If this is what you want to do, find the time. Maybe it's an hour.
Don't find the time. Make the time.
Make the time.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's a better way of saying it. Make the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is a competitive process where not a lot of like, oh, well, for this person, it's fine not to do that. No. I mean, you're going into a pool of like 6,000 other candidates who found the time to do it.
Yep.
And again, I kind of bristle at this too, Vernia, and this is not on Michael. I'm glad that you asked the question, but you're forgetting, or you're missing the point of why med schools are asking you to do this. You have blinders on. It's not just because we want to see shadowing, it's because of what we want you to take away, hopefully, learning-wise, what it means to be a physician in such and such specialty, day-to-day in this setting. That's important. You're about to take on one of the most rigorous training professions that there is, and not everybody is cut out to be one. We want you to know, having shadowed, that you actually like the potential of what's coming. And so it's not about hours. That's why we say there is no hours. Anything above 0 is great, but it's for what we hope that you get out of it and we'll be able to speak to, and what impact it has, not just checking a box. So don't put your blinders on. It won't matter if you do it. If you don't get the information that we're needing you to get from having done it, you will be missing the point.
Yep. Yes. I often say it's not for us, it's for you.
Yeah.
Isaac asks, hello. I used to own multiple cannabis dispensaries in California. I was arrested and charged with the cannabis charge that will exclude me from medical school admissions.
I feel like I've seen this before.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen this one. It's interesting, right? California is a legal state in the country. So I'd be interested to know why he was arrested and charged with cannabis charges. So there's something fishy going on. Yeah.
I mean, the short answer is yes, it could hurt your chances.
Yeah.
What's the time frame we're talking about? Like, has there been 5 years since this happened? 10 years since this happened? Or did this happen 2 years ago? Because that will make a difference. What did you learn from this experience? With the charges, what level was the charge? Was it a felony? Was it a misdemeanor? Did you serve any time? Are you in a state where you have to report that? So there is a lot that will go into just this one thing. And yes, it could affect your entrance for medical school. Again, you're going into a pool of 6,000, right? If they're risk adverse, they don't necessarily, unless you've had some major growth and can really speak to what you took from having had this experience and how you've grown from it and how it will help you in the future, and they're really moved by that, there's potential for this to carry a lot of weight. So make it count, I guess.
Jose, how can I see if a public med school accepts out-of-state students? I've seen lists, but not sure if they are correct. So the MSAR is the best place for MD schools. The ChooseDO Explorer, I don't think, has that sort of breakdown of in-state, out-of-state acceptances, potentially going to each individual osteopathic school, although there's very few public osteopathic schools.
So it's on the ChooseDO Explorer. It will be in the first year class matriculation stats, which will show you the last incoming class and what the breakdown was, but it's on the individual schools pages. Yeah.
Good. So MSAR and ChooseDO Explorer. Yosef's back. Regarding research, does it have to be a medical or science related? Can it be about climate change and engineering, etc.? Yes, it can be anything.
Yeah.
Karen, when should lower than national complex first attempt average? What? Oh, complex, I'm assuming.
Yeah, complex.
What questions should I be asking about their time and resources for preparing their student? So, Courtney, I'll throw this one to you. I'm assuming the question is that this is a pre-med student.
First time pass rate?
Yeah, looking at schools and looking at COMLEX first time pass rates and going, that potentially is concerning.
I mean, I don't know if I know like a hard cutoff average. I would say that numbers can be a little bit deceiving because of how they report them. Let me give you an example. So you see something where it says 99% residency match rate. That's great. It looks amazing. But did they give the students the opportunity to apply to residencies that they wanted? Or were there blockers in place that said, we're not sure if you could apply to like dermatology, so we're going to block that so we don't mess up our match number. So COMLEX, they may have a really great number, but I would look to see if there are any blockers. Do they block you from sitting from first attempt, or do they allow everybody to take it at the student's discretion, which is more equitable and fair than blocking somebody on the guise of, oops, they may not do it and we don't want our number to look bad. So this goes for MD or DO schools. That would be more of the question I would be asking. And then, what support and resources, what time they've given to students. Is it no time dedicated to it? Is it couple months dedicated to it at the end of second year, but there's a lot of stuff you can be doing on your own. So a lot of this, again, will fall on you and how disciplined you are with your own personal study. So utilizing Anki and, you know, the first aid manual, I've heard a lot of students really appreciated that and things like that. So I don't know if I know an exact average, but
Yeah.
you know, once they start dropping significantly, I would say like, well, they're probably letting anybody sit for it, which in a way is a good thing, because they're more concerned about allowing students to be able to self-select fit. So there's nuance to the number.
Lots of nuance, and that's a very common tactic for Caribbean medical schools as well. It's like, hey, we have a 95% pass rate on USMLE, and the question is, yeah, but how many people did you kick out before you let them take the test?
Yeah.
So got to be careful. There's always ways of cooking the books.
I was shocked when I finally got into that information, and when I would see other people and how they would present that material, other medical schools, not just DO. I'm not calling out DOs, but yeah, there's ways to present it favorably where it's not all judged the same.
Luis, hello everyone. I haven't received any interview invites out of the many schools I applied to. Is it still advisable to sit tight and reach out to adcoms? Oh, Verenia, we're in the stage of the game where nerves are getting really wrecked right now. Yes, the worry train is about to leave the station. Yeah. What should Luis and all the other students out there struggling with patience right now? What should they be doing?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Luis, is just trying to remain optimistic without knowing anything about your application. You can, kind of say, okay, this is still right. We're still kind of in the middle of things. Things are happening. Interviews can still happen later on. Sometimes as far, into like February, March. So I would say don't get on that worry train just yet. But it would be a good idea to start looking at your application and say, okay, what went wrong? What could possibly have gone wrong here? Is there anything I can do to improve it at this point? Like forward thinking, right? What if I have to reapply? What do I have to do? Never too early to do that part. Reaching out to adcoms, I would say hold off on that. It's a little early for that. We hear all the time students who want to send in, update letters or letters of interest, things like that. Unless you have something meaningful to update them on, maybe a new activity or something that you've done that you feel like it's worth mentioning and they accept update letters, you could potentially send one out. But even still, I would probably wait a little longer. It's still so early. So find other ways to occupy your time. Like looking at your application. Yeah. Or yeah. Good luck. It's hard.
It's so hard. Kyle asks, I recently received a, quote, deferred decision after completing an interview at my top choice MD school. How do you recommend proceeding? Should I reach back out with a letter of intent? Thanks. Oh, deferred decision, Courtney. I don't even, like, is that a hold? Is that the specific language? Is there some technical definition of that?
Very vague. It seems like it's kind of a wait list where they are waiting to make a decision on where to place this person until they have more interviews done. So I would say I kind of want to know what their process is. Are they rolling admission? Are they batch send where they only kind of release acceptances 2 times in a cycle, because then it could mean something different? Or is it a deferred decision where they are offering you a seat for the next class and a wait list for this year? So I would need a little bit more information. This is vague. But as far as should you reach back out or anything like that, I would need more information before I could advise you on that. Is this something that you need to accept, or is this just saying we're deferring giving you any kind of concrete answer for a while, in which case you would just need to hold tight.
Yeah, hold on tight.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so stressful. Hussein asks, when is the latest month you can take the MCAT and still be early/competitive applicant? Brittany, I talk all the time, like June 30th, like the end of June is historically kind of my comfort zone. That's also hard if it's your first time taking it, because if you need to retake it, then you're kind of in this purgatory of like, I need to retake it then. And when you get your score back in July. And so I don't know, what are your thoughts when you talk to students about the MCAT timing?
Yeah, I'm to me, June 30th is pushing it. I think it's later. I'm more comfortable if you're telling me maybe March, April, because you want to see that score and strategize before the application even opens. Yeah, June 30th is fine, but know that you will be going in sort of in a later batch. But if your application is strong in other aspects, then maybe waiting until that late to take it isn't so bad. But I would say no later than June, and really focus on preparing for it so that by June, okay, maybe I don't have to retake it. Maybe I've prepared well enough that I'm going to come out with a solid score. Even still, it makes me nervous. I like April better as the latest date.
Yeah.
April.
Yeah. With the ultimate answer being take it when you're ready. You have to
Yeah.
always layer that on top.
Yes. Very true.
Just, I mean, I kind of agree with Verania here of like, you're going to have a lot of things potentially layering on top of each other, like writing your personal statement, going through all your activities and putting together your actual application takes a lot of work, usually months to put together and get to a polished state. And then you need to get that submitted for verification. So what type of preparation do you need for your MCAT? And is that putting a pause on doing all of this application prep? Like, can you have a balance of prepping your application and studying for the MCAT so that you can get your application in, start going through the verification process, which takes usually 6 to 8 weeks, especially at the beginning, and then sit for your MCAT. So when you're asking for ideal early timeline, you will need to be tracking a number of things and being careful about the overlap. How long you delay.
Stuff going on. Yeah.
I know.
Megan, back. If a student is yet to write to the MCAT, not sure if the student will get a score competitive enough, then do we sign up for application help now or after the MCAT? Great question. So Megan was the one earlier who asked about applying to medical school and a master's at the same time. So this comes up all the time with the students that we help who sign up for application help. The answer is ideally you sign up now because there's a lot to do for the application. And then you get your MCAT score back and you realize, I'm definitely not ready to apply yet. All of that work doesn't go to waste, right? You have been working on your application. You just pause submitting it and you hold it until the next year. And then typically what we do in this case is if you've signed up for kind of an application cycle package, we just pause that until the next cycle. And then we kind of meet you again the following year. So nothing goes to waste and you're not wasting your money by doing that.
Or like we were just saying, the more time you can give yourself to kind of space out these overlapping things, the better, right? If you can start chipping away at drafting some of your activity stuff now ahead of, potentially sitting in April for an MCAT and, you use your weekends to do application stuff and you use your week to study for MCAT. You have a lot more time if you're starting that now than if you are doing it all crunched at the end after you sit. So it just depends how you function.
Yep. All right, should have time for a couple more questions. The Nintendo Man 64. I did water bottle chemical leaching research, quote, while in the military. Could I label it as research, even if it might have not had a big impact? So I want to know why research is in quotes.
That's what I was
Why
gonna
is
say.
research in quotes? Because my question, having been in the military, is water bottle chemical leaching. Now, are you doing research or are you just running tests?
Mhm.
So research is, okay, here we go. The research was doing a routine sample while deployed, but this time it was done the most scientifically correct to give the best results. Yeah, and that was my concern, was this person was just running
Testing.
tests.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Running tests is not research. Research is I have a hypothesis. I need to develop systems and processes and studies to collect data to test that hypothesis. I'm going to then collect that data. I'm going to analyze the data. I'm going to run some fun statistics on that data and then try to figure out if my hypothesis is correct or not. So my assumption, Nintendo Man, is this is not research. This is just testing that that kind of is normal.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think they know that based on the quotes.
by the quote research.
Yeah.
Kelly asks, is it better to apply first in state? I know Texas natives can apply and it will go to all state medical schools.
I would.
Apply to the schools you want to go to.
Texas has a great situation for in-state students. I would fully take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't apply simultaneously though.
Yeah. Harshada, I'm a junior undergraduate and I haven't done any research experience, but everyone at my school heavily emphasizes on research experience. I do have a lot of clinical experience though. Courtney, research, we talk about it all the time. Research is so overrated by lots of people. What are your thoughts here?
Unless you're going to a school that is very clear and transparent that they want heavy research, which is few and far between, it's, you know, it's just an additional part of an application. Again, we're not checkboxing things to all have the exact same things. We need things that will inform us as a med school, that you understand what you're taking on as a profession, as a kind of training program and things like that. You don't have to have research. A lot of schools provide research as a first opportunity for students to do research in medical school. So this is optional for almost every program. And I would rather see clinical experience over research, to be completely honest, because that is going to be what patient care is. So depends on the school, but it's not going to be many where they're placing a lot of emphasis on that, to be honest.
Yeah, and I say this all the time when talking about this. I was at a conference a few years ago now, and it was a UCSF, right? Historically known as a great research institution, great medical school for research. There was an admissions person there I was talking to, and he's like, just make sure people understand that we don't heavily emphasize research when it comes to applications. Yes, you're gonna do research here. We are a research institution, but we look at so many more variables on an application than just how much research does a person have. So yeah, it's just one part of an application and an overemphasized one. Michael, would it all be advisable to take a full-length practice test before doing any content review? Yeah, it's called a diagnostic. It's a half-length. Reddit seems divided, and I feel like it may just be demoralizing instead of providing a direction for review. So go listen, Michael, to the MCAT podcast. It's free MCAT prep through a podcast that I do with Blueprint MCAT. This question comes up all the time. And a lot of the negativity comes from, in terms of taking a diagnostic. I don't think there's any point in taking a full-length exam, but a half-length diagnostic, it gives you an idea of the test. It gives you an idea of how questions are asked. And yes, it can be demoralizing, but you just have to look at the score and go, oh, crap, that sucks. And then you start, right? If I were to go from never running at all to trying to run a marathon, my time is going to be probably horrible.
9 days.
And I'll be in the hospital for a long time after. And so you just know that it's not an accurate measure of anything. It's just a way to get a feel for what you're about to embark on. But there's a lot of negativity when it comes to full-length exams or diagnostic exams, because there's an assumption, because diagnostic exams are given by test prep companies, that the scores are overly deflated to scare you and get you to sign up for these courses and stuff. And you just ignore that. Just take the diagnostic, get a feel for it, and then jump into studying.
That's it.
I think your example is good about running, because if you don't have the diagnostic, how do you even know you're training correctly? What are you training for? If you have no idea how to run and you try a marathon and you're training, like, you have to know how those passages are worded, how long it takes you to read the material, what type of questions they're asking. There's so much that goes into just the actual practice of test taking, that if you do not have that reference point, I don't know how you point in a direction. Like, you need to do that.
Yep. All right. I think we have come to the close of another great Premed office hours. Again, we are here almost every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Go to premed.tv, subscribe to our channel, turn on your notifications so that when we do go live, you get an email or an in-app notification that we are here hanging out, answering your questions for free. As always, if you would like some personalized one-on-one help, that's what we do day in and day out. Go to medicalschoolhq.net/advising for all of our advising options. Courtney Lewis, Verinia Granum, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.